Oh, I just liked the way they said things, and I liked the way they invented things with their imagination. I had quite an imagination, and I wanted to put it to some good use.
Did you ever write anything that early on when you just tossed it aside?
No,
Said,
I didn't. No, I didn't.
When did okay, this, I don't want to jump too far ahead because I know you wrote it in your mid to late 20s, but so your college years would have been 66, 67, 68, 69?
Yes.
Okay.
I graduated in '69.
So you would have been in the lottery at 68, right? As a student?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, you still been 69
Yes.
after you. Did you go to graduate school?
Yes, I did. I went to the University of Iowa Writers Workshop, and then
See, hold on, let's back up there. You went. That's a big jump, because what did you graduate with?
3-4.
But what degree?
Oh, a BA and a BAED. I wanted to be a teacher. I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and so that's what I studied. You had to get that BAED before you could be certified.
Okay. Did you want to teach at the high school level or at the
Yes,
college?
I did. Yes, I did.
Now, what did your I'm curious, what did your dad specifically say once you graduated and you're going to be a teacher, which justifies how you were all growing up? Intellectual, it's a perfect setup for a teacher, which is a very noble profession. Did he change his attitude towards you?
I don't, well, I think he always figured that was a guy should make more money than a teacher makes. I'm pretty sure but he had respect for me. He wasn't certainly out there bragging about me, but he had respect for me. I was a teacher at a good school, and
Did you do any working out in college?
Oh yes. I always ran. I ran and ran and ran.
For the purpose of staying in shape, or for a reason? Were you intramural?
Staying in shape.
Okay.
I did. We had a little wrestling program in PE, and I really liked it. But the coach, he was sending a guy to the nationals, and he wanted me to wrestle him, and so I wrestled this guy that was going to nationals, and he was smaller than I, and he wasn't as strong, which was real hard for me to believe. But the coach was impressed at how I handled myself on the mat, which that was a good feeling for me.
Okay, so you're doing you're wrestling. Well, you did just that. Did you think maybe I'll join the team?
No, I didn't. I didn't have the confidence.
Wow. Even after the coach said what he said,
No.
you didn't have the confidence.
Although after that, for years and years, I've said to myself that I should have gone out for the team.
Did you have the bandwidth to do it though, with everything else going on? Because that's quite a commitment.
It would have been tough.
Yeah.
It would have been tough.
So you graduated, and you decided to go to a writers.
It's a famous place, the Iowa Writers Workshop.
Yeah.
And
number one.
And I was astonished that I got in.
What made you decide to try?
Well, because it was such a famous place, and I thought I could learn to do it, and I also thought it would be a real positive thing to be around with other people who were trying to write.
Mm-hmm. But there's a difference between teaching and a difference between writing. And people who go to those places have a desire inside somewhere to write something.
Yes.
Obviously, you haven't really explained to me yet where the thought in your head was, I might be a writer.
Well, it wasn't at the Iowa Writers Workshop because I wasn't among the people who who gained everybody's respect. Tracy Kidder, who won a Pulitzer Prize for a book that he wrote called The Soul of a New Machine. He was in my class there, and I made some wonderful friends there.
Was it competitive atmosphere?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Because you're sizing each other up, right? Just like a wrestling match.
Yes.
But yeah, and I think you have to read in front of each other what you wrote, and
Well,
you get critiqued by your peers, and
Yeah, they were all workshops.
Mm-hmm.
You would submit a piece one week, the next week on a certain day, people would give their thoughts about the piece, and that could get vicious at some points, but
Yeah.
it mostly wasn't. It mostly was talking about and trying to be like a real critic was. You were trying to, I mean, if maybe your writing wasn't so well, you could come through the next week as a critic and be helpful.
yeah. Before I move on, whatever happened to Ron Dixon?
His skydiving plane flew into a mountain in the Cascades, and one of the things I say in the foreword is that when I heard about it, I said to myself, that's about the only thing that could kill Dixon.
Wow, how old was he?
He'd just gotten out of the service, and I'm not sure.
Right. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing to think that someone that level of physicality and just so much above their peers in what they do something can happen to them.
Well, Pat Henshaw was the R-145 guy who was in a similar way. He became a long-range reconnaissance. They called them LRRPs, and he was killed and then found way up in North Vietnam. So he'd been following those trails. And,
Yeah. How many of the guys that you was on the team with went into the service and fought?
Well, I think Wilbanks did, and I know Greg did. My friend who has neuropathy,
Mm-hmm.
but not many. I'm surprised, but not many.
How many state championships were on your team? State champions. Dixon, obviously.
One state champion and one number 3 man. Our heavyweight, the guy who was so fast, was number 3 in state.
Okay, so you got third in state.
Oh, and Fritz, our 106 pounder, he was 3-2, and Dudley Mizuguchi, our 23 pounder, I think it was, he took third as well.
So Dixon was the only one to clear state.
Yes.
He did it twice.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive.
Sure is.
Where was state? Where was it?
Over
at?
in Seattle.
Seattle. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where the tournament was.
Yeah, and it seemed like such a long way for us.
Did you go?
No, I didn't.
You didn't go watch the?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So let's go back. I didn't follow up correctly on that. So let's go back. You get out of the writer's workshop, and
I went to Brazil.
from there.
I went to Brazil, and I taught in the American school.
And you're about 23, 22, 23?
Oh, maybe a little closer. 24, 25.
Okay.
And that was a high school, and
What did your parents think about you going to Brazil?
I think they thought it was cool.
Did your dad have any discussion with you about the war at all?
Not a one, not
Not
a
one.
bit. My dad did a real sweet thing. He sent me a radio, a little handheld radio, and he said, if you listen to Portuguese, you might be able to learn to speak it. And I thought that was so sweet. God.
So why did you go back again? Why did you go there?
There was a girl that I went with in high school who was Brazilian, and I said to myself, well, at least I'll know one person. And her mom was an editor of, her daughter was among, her mother was among the the editors of a big newspaper, the biggest paper in Rio. And we figured that as many people as she knew, she could probably find me work. And she did.
The girl you dated,
I
this girl?
later married her.
Okay, so she went back home.
Yes, she went back home.
Okay, gotcha. So you're missing her, obviously.
We came back and got married.
Right.
Oh no, we got married in Rio and then came back.
So you went to Rio basically for a girl.
Yes.
And while down there, because of her mom's connections, you said, "Look, I'm in love with this girl, and I also could probably get a job doing something."
Well, what happened about getting a job is that I went up to the school one day and I gave them my curriculum vitae, and they thought it was, they were just getting Americans who happened to be down there, expatriates and stuff. And they were astonished to find somebody who had a degree to teach. So bam, they just captured me and didn't let me go. And it was a wonderful school, a wonderful place to work.
Did you teach English?
No, well yes, I did teach English, but I taught literature and writing as well.
Right. And was the school an English school?
An American school.
American school, right.
It's the American School of Rio de Janeiro, and the school currently it looks like a resort hotel. It's built into a beautiful mountain.
Yeah.
And the soccer field is a couple levels down the mountain, and it's a huge field, and it was quite a place.
How long were you there?
I was there 1 year, and then I went back the next. I was glad that they wanted me back, and I wanted to go back because it was good money and it was a great life.
So you were there a total of 2 years?
Yep.
What did you take away from that place?
Well, I did an awful lot of writing while I was there. I got halfway through Vision Quest when I was there.
When did you start Vision Quest? When was the first time that you can remember sitting down?
This is an interesting story. I started at the last day I was at the University of Iowa. And I said no, I wasn't doing good and I wasn't getting anybody's respect. In fact, one guy held up my story and said, I'm insulted that the guy who wrote this is in here, and I am too. And that was, that was tough to live with, but I thought it was a pretty gutsy thing to do, and
I would have laughed.
pretty nasty thing to do.
I would have laughed if somebody said to me,
But my last day of school, and I was a teaching assistant, and it was my last day. I was closing up my office. I was taking down my office and packing up to bring home. And then I was in my office and I said to myself, I've got to write about something I know that not everybody does know. And I said, I wrote the first and the last lines of Vision Quest there.
The first and the last lines.
And blowing Grand Coulee Dam to smithereens was a line I wrote. And then I also wrote the first line. I wrote those two lines and then thought about it.
But those lines just came to you
yeah.
while you were kind of like
thinking about it. Now, what do I know that anybody would care about? Yeah. And I said, well, I can certainly invent a kid who's a wrestler. And
where'd you come up with the name Loudon Swain?
Well, a Swain is a country boy, and I was thinking, well, Loudon, maybe he's a loud country boy, and that's what I made him, a loud country boy.
Loud country boy. And Brian Shute.
His name was Gary Shute in
the book, right?
And Gary Shute is my cousin, and I've always thought that was just a great name. What a great name.
You like it? Yeah.
He played baseball with Ron Say.
Okay, yeah, the Dodger.
Yep.
So yeah, Gary Shute. And that is a great name.
What do you think of Tim for a name for Loudon's son?
I think it's good because it's one now that you hear a lot. You do hear it, so it sounds contemporary.
A guy on the East Coast who's involved with UFC, he told me he thought naming him Tim was a mistake. He didn't think it was a tough enough name.
We don't choose your name.
No, you don't.
So you can be tough. You make your name tough.
Yeah. And in Son of Swain, I've got a great name for a character that Loudon, he goes to the NCAs and wrestles this guy. And his name is Nails Niles. Oklahoma State. Nails Niles. Oh, God, I
Wow.
just love that. What?
Yeah, one of my heroes is Niles Kinnick, and he won the Heisman in the in 1940 from Iowa, and he's
I'll be darned.
the only one ever to win it.
Kinnick.
Niles Kinnick, and I always thought that was a really cool name, Niles Kinnick, and that guy might have been president one day. He had everything, and he went down in a plane during a training mission.
This
World War
guy's
II.
last name is Niles, and somebody gives him the name Nails.
Yeah.
Niles.
So you write your first and last line really at your last day of the clinic there, and then you head down to Rio. When do you get serious about turning that little thought nugget that you had into more than that?
My entire year at Rio, I was working on it. I only got halfway through. The half of it's what I sent to Stanford,
Okay.
and I was so proud of.
Was there a lot of things that were
fellowship.
that were left out that you sent in your original to Stanford that we didn't see in the publication? Were there parts?
No.
Oh, did they edit it?
No, they didn't. Stanford didn't do anything to it but accept it.
Why did you? So you went from college to the writer's workshop, and you wanted to go to Stanford because why?
Well, they offered a fellowship that was really, really attractive.
And you thought this book might be something, and the fellowship will help me write it. As
Yes,
far as,
that's exactly what I thought.
and you were married at this time.
Yes, married to Monica from Brazil.
What did she feel about your writing? You don't have to say anything you don't want to say, but was she supportive? Was she
was
understood
supportive.
it?
She was supportive, and and she also was not only real smart but really well educated. She was fluent in French as well as Portuguese.
Was she wanting you to go off and make money now that y'all were married?
No.
It was no pressure for that. It was follow your kind of dream. Or,
Yes.
And you sent off basically when you were in Brazil, you sent it off to Stanford as a
Application
for
the
a fellowship.
Yes.
You
yes.
knew it existed,
Yes.
and then you got it back a letter that said we accept you.
Yep. And I've got that letter over in my little office in Harvard Park, and I'm gonna have it blown up. So it's kind of faded. I want some print shop to get it good and deep black, and then I want it blown up like a poster, because some of the things said there, I don't want to forget.
Yeah.
And I want I want my son Pascal to see him, and my daughter Anissa.
What year was Pascal born?
He was born in '78, the year the Rolling Stones. I forget the name of the album. My favorite song on it. What is it?
That's not the album with the zipper on it, is it?
No, I don't think so.
That's a little bit earlier.
Miss You. The song "Miss You" was on there, and I
Yeah.
thought that was just a great tune.
So you moved to Stanford,
Yes, I did.
and when you get there, other than how beautiful it is, are you feeling any confidence at all
Oh yes.
as you're starting to go from?
Well,
hey,
I had a novel almost done, and those people hadn't written any novels, and
How long was the fellowship for?
half year.
Half year. So for 6 months, they kind of do they Other than fund you, what do they do there at one of those places at a fellowship?
It's a workshop.
It's a workshop.
Yeah.
And so you were using Vision Quest, and did you call it Vision Quest then?
Yes, I did.
Did you use your book the entire time to work through stuff?
Yes, I did.
And what kind of response were you getting from your peers?
Positive.
Yeah.
Getting positive responses.
And you kind of feel like, I'm onto something here a little bit.
Yes, I did.
Especially
yes,
at that level, the Stanford alumni are some pretty...
Ken Kesey had the same fellowship.
Yeah, so you're with a pretty elite group.
That's true.
This kid with no confidence.
That's true.
You know, from Spokane, just, you know.
But I tackled something that was natural for me to tackle. Well, I mean, I'm an expert in that. I am, you know, like one of those guys who writes something that. But I mean, I'm an expert about wrestling. I'm not anymore, but then I sure as hell was.
When you started writing at the
Iowa,
you were probably 24.
Yeah.
And by the time you got to Stanford, you were probably 26.
Yes, 25, 26, yes.
So you're writing Vision Quest at the fellowship with the sole purpose of publishing it at some point. At that point, you're going to publish it.
Gonna try, yeah. But here's something that's an interesting thing about the business. My agent, I sent several things to Sports Illustrated and they bought them. And my editor there at Sports Illustrated was Pat Ryan. And from her job at the Viking Press, she went and she was the first editor of People magazine.
What stuff?
And if I had stuck close to her, I would have made some money in People magazine.
What stuff did you have published in Sports Illustrated?
Parts of Vision Quest.
That's it. Okay. I didn't know if you did specialty pieces or anything like that.
No, I did do some journalism for them, but it was mostly pieces of Vision Quest.
Now, how did that get submitted from Stanford? From where? Help me through that process. You said you had an agent. When did you get an agent?
When I began publishing in Sports Illustrated, my editor there, Pat Ryan, thought enough of the pieces that she wanted me to have an agent. It was a very kind thing. And here's something the agent did. Talk about kindness. That book was rejected 30 times. And she kept on trying to sell it. Her name is Liz Dorensoff. She's retired now, which makes it real tough for me to work with any publishers in New York. But I'll never, ever forget her and never stop thanking her and blessing her heart.
How'd you get her?
Well, Pat Ryan, she was selling pieces all over the publishing world, and she had so many contacts.
I guess I'm confused about how you're working on Vision Quest at Stanford. At what point did you think we can serialize it in Sports Illustrated? Well, who put that in germ in your head?
Well,
and I've got to go back and find some Sports Illustrateds.
I don't know where I learned.
What year was that? 70?
Oh, God. Well, 76, 77, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such an honor to publish in Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, it's huge.
And
they just took little pieces of the...
Yeah, I took
story.
little pieces of the story and tried to fix them up like the other pieces that they ran that were like that. There used to be, in the back of Sports Illustrated, there used to be a place where athletes would write personal essays about their life as athletes. And that's where I published them.
Okay.
In that section. And that's where Pat Ryan introduced herself to me and told me to come to New York. There was someone she wanted me to meet, and
Wow. So she saw that, and of all the stuff that comes in, she said, "Who is this guy? This is good."
yes, that's
Wow.
right.
And then that escalated to the
I've
next.
got to. Then she said to herself, "I've got to get a hold of Liz on behalf of this guy."
So Liz contacted you and said, "Do you have an agent?"
Well, I went to New York to meet Pat
Okay.
and visit her at Sports Illustrated, and she called.
Was that pretty heady?
Oh yes, oh my God.
I would have freaked out.
She called Liz, and then I met Liz at her apartment, and that was I was figuring, oh, no, New Yorkers at this level in literature, they're going to be pretty sophisticated. What the hell am I going to do there?
Right. That's normal.
And
Yeah.
but it was Liz was Crutcher's agent too,
Okay.
and
He was already in the game.
well, he just came into the game.
Okay.
Then. In fact, if you were to read his introduction, I don't know what book of mine it is. It might be If Rock and Roll Were a Machine. If you were to read the introduction that he wrote, he's very kind to me in there. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he says is that if there were no Terry Davis, there would be no Chris Crutcher. And he talks about me getting a hold of my agent for him. He's very kind in that introduction. I'll try and find it and give you an email about where it can be found. Or listen, when you're leaving, I'll just give you a book.
I've got the books right. All three of them right here.
Well, see if it's in rock and roll.
You think I go around not carrying my books with me? Kind of a fan do you think I am? Tennyson. This one isn't. This one starts off with a Tennyson quote.
But there's no introduction, right?
Not that I see here. Let me look. To all the teachers and coaches who were kind to me.
Yep. Bill Villa's name's on there.
And it gives the contents, quotes Tennyson, much abides, much is taken, much abides.
Yep.
And then you start talking about Albert Bowden gives his word. Let me see if there's something here at the back.
Well, I'm surprised it's not there.
It tells about you.
No, it might be a new version of Vision Quest.
It might be.
And I'll check that.
I got this new version of Vision Quest. Let me look.
Oh, that's the Simon and Schuster version.
Yeah.
The Simon and Schuster version.
You've got got your acknowledgments in there that you've added, which is great, and then it goes right into it.
Could it be Mysterious Ways?
We're gonna look. So I'll stop now.
I don't think it could be.
Let me see. Yeah, am I a fan or what? King Lear. And it goes right into it.
You know, I just fell.
Might be a
in
different
love. I
edition.
just fell in love with literature.
Yeah.
I fell in love with literature then.
And what as a more mature reader.
Could you write down your phone for me so I will give you a call when I find out?
Yeah.
If you just write it on this. Oh, no, you're going to take these.
Mm-hmm. Right on the lip. What kind of mature you quote some pretty mature stuff.
I do.
Shakespeare, you quote Milton.
Yeah.
You quote. When did you start delving into those kind of heady
Well, it was
authors,
it was in
readers?
the time before I got to Stanford. Those were pieces that everybody who was supposed to be literate read, and I wanted to be literate too. And so I tried to jump right into those classical things.
There is a difference though between reading it and comprehending it.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
And so, did you always feel like you had a pretty good handle on what was?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. There's a chapter in Mysterious Ways about God's character in the book of Job.
Yeah.
And that was one that I worked real hard on.
I mean, basically, Mysterious Ways is Job, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
A good man who's being tested by God. You know, very similar stuff to that, but we'll get that in a little bit. So you've got a lady who says she'll represent you now as an agent.
My agent retired, so I'm really
But back
in
then,
bad shape in the world of literature. If you don't have somebody to advocate for you, somebody to introduce you to publishers and advocate for you, you're in desperate trouble.
yeah,
That's one of the things I'm having a tough time with Son of Swain. My movie agent also retired. She and Liz and I are all the same age, so now that they get up here in their mid-70s, they retired.
They're probably telling you to retire, huh?
I hate to say it, or I hate to think it.
Yeah. But back whenever she was your agent initially,
Yep.
she would handle sending out the book to the publishers,
Yes.
and she would call you on the phone and say it got rejected. How would she tell
she
you?
she would send the slips to me.
Send the slips.
She would send the correspondence.
What kind of rejection letters were the reasoning? What reasoning did they give other than the standard form? Did some tell you what it was about it that they didn't like?
No, not really. It was mostly what the subject was. That was I got positive reactions to my skill.
The belief is that there was not interest in a
Yes.
in a
Where the hell do we market this?
Yeah.
That was the.
And then Viking eventually said, "We'll take it."
Yep.
And Viking was at the time was known for what? What did they publish?
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
I had one of the legendary editors at Viking. Her name's Elizabeth Sifton.
And did you spend a lot of time with her in the editing process?
I spent more time with one of her editors. She was an executive editor.
Okay.
And with one of her editors named Ted Solotaroff, who was the founder of what it's called, North American. Oh my God. One of the classic short story and excerpt magazines that ever came out in that flourishing of literary magazines.
Yeah.
Literary.
So
North American Review is the magazine
the Review,
that
okay.
he started.
So what was that process like?
Well, this is one of the most exciting things in a young writer's life. I sat with Ted Solotaroff at his desk, and there were books sitting there that he was the editor of. E.L. Doctorow was there, and can you imagine sitting at a desk with a guy who's E.L. Doctorow's editor?
And you're 28 or 27?
Yeah. I hadn't reached 30 yet.
And it's pretty heady stuff.
Oh, it's real heady stuff. And when I came back to Spokane from there, I knew who I was. I was a writer by God, and you can't take that away from me. I think it's just under 300 pages. Did he take a lot out of it or change the order of some stuff? We went, hard as this is to believe, we went over line by line that manuscript. God, it was like visiting heaven for a young writer.
So was line by line, would he say a comma needs to go here?
No.
None of that. He would say.
Let me tell you who else was on his desk. Norman Mailer.
Wow.
He was Norman Mailer's editor.
How would he suggest changes to you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah. Did you feel like when you're with him? Did you feel like a school teacher's grading your work, or did you feel like
no? It was a different kind of professionalism.
Collaboration.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you remember what they gave you for a first-time author? Viking gives you. Do they give you royalties? Do they give you?
Oh yes, royalties. They gave me a flat fee for the rights.
Flat fee for the rights.
And then royalties.
And so the rights, do those include film?
No, Viking didn't have anything to do with the film. It was Liz. She had a partner in the movie business, and so the book went from me and Elizabeth Sifton and Ted Solitaroff to Liz to Lynn, I can't think of her last name. Plachette. She was married to the actor John Plachette.
Oh, okay.
Lynn Plachette was her name. And bam, she sold that in a matter of days.
So you went from having it published to having it sold movie rights within a matter of days?
Well, it was also sold to another publishing house. It was sold to Bantam.
At the same time? They can do that?
Oh, yeah.
I thought Viking had sold rights.
Oh, yeah, they could sell the rights to another company, and then that company would publish it. And you would have two editions of your book out in the world.
But would you get residuals from Bantam?
Yes.
So you got a flat fee for the book itself. We'll give you X amount of money.
And the fat flea. The fat flea
is slow.
The flat fee for Vision Quest to Warner Brothers was $100,000. Awful lot of money to me then.
You're jumping over the moon, I'm sure.
Oh God, yeah.
But did you get?
And it was a real big thing for my dad to see that his kid could do something that could make that much money.
Well, let's back up just a little bit where you've got. Something that happened really fast once you completed the book.
Yes.
It was a very fast process. And
you know, the funny thing about me is that I am really a good writer.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
I've just seen it recently working on Son of Swain. Well, and see what you think of the foreword, because I've been staying up till dawn with Whitey, and I've been hitting it hard, and Connie, who's my caregiver, and she's a psychiatric social worker. She says that I'm in a manic phase when I'm doing that. She says it's my mania that blasts me through those periods of like magic or like something.
Were you like that when you were young? When you have these manic periods where you'd write?
I wasn't as good though.
Right.
I wasn't as good.
But,
and
same kind of process though, right?
Yeah.
So, did you get royalties on top of the flat fee?
Yes.
So you got.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't. In fact, that is becoming a really, really important thing to me. Is Warner Brothers, I think, and I'm trying to find this out through contacts. Warner Brothers, I'm afraid, desperately afraid. I'm talking to a lawyer in Spokane about it. I'm afraid they still own some rights to characters, for example.
Yeah.
I'm afraid they do still own some.
Well, there was
rights.
some talk in the mid 2010 or so about Vision Quest 2.
Yeah.
With the hottest hunk of the time.
Oh, what's his name? He was in those
Twilight vampire movies, right? And I was like, don't do it. But there was talk of that, and I was like, they're just gonna remake it, or
I was just
they were in a phase where we were remaking everything. So
I was desperate for them not to do a remake.
I mean, they made.
That's why I have tried my very best to reach out into the literary or movie world to tell those people no remake. Sequel, no remake.
Yeah, they remade Red Dawn, and from the 80s as well. And it was like, ugh.
Same thing with Red Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do it.
No.
It was something magical about it. So you've got the book published, you've got a flat fee, plus you get a percentage of royalties per sell a book. So even whenever
Well, when those royalty checks came in, I was so proud. It was like just having a job and that being payday.
sure.
Which for my dad was it was a thing that touched his heart.
Well, Simon and Schuster, you get when the new editions come out, you get royalties for these, right?
Yeah, but it hasn't earned any.
Really, the new version has it.
I think they did pay me a flat fee, but
Is a flat fee just for the rights and then
yes,
the royalties
yes,
for the sales?
Yes.
Okay. And so that comes back to where I was headed. When you told your dad, I've got a book, it's being published, and they're making it a movie. What conversation? Do you remember that conversation with him? And even your mom?
Well, his thrust about that was, well, you better by God spend the money right. And I don't blame him. Don't blame him one bit.
Yeah, but wasn't he? Wow,
He was
got,
proud about it.
my kid's got this.
He and Mom, Mom kept all my reviews, and he was part of that.
Yeah.
He was part of that, thinking about Terry.
Mm-hmm. Did he ever talk to you about the book? Do you read it?
I don't think so. He never talked to me about it.
You don't think you read? I bet you read it. How could you not read your son's book?
Well, he might have, yeah.
But y'all never discussed it.
No.
God, that would have been a fun discussion to have. What do you thought about it?
It was a real big thing for
Because you
mom.
referenced family in there that
Yeah.
he would.
Oh, yeah.
That he would.
Yeah. Oh, and the grandparents are referenced in
Yeah.
there too.
And I think you told me this while we were driving around. There was only one person that you based anything on that was upset.
Yeah, that's
The dad.
Thuringer.
The dad of that. Did you ever talk to the Damon Thuringer character to see if he was upset?
I did talk with him about it, but we didn't talk about the book.
Okay.
I assumed he was upset because of his dad, but I never talked with Fritz about it.
Yeah, I wonder what it. I still don't know what about it made him look bad. I thought he looked like a very good friend and someone you wanted as a teammate.
I did too.
The fact that guys roughhouse and the little guys always get on the lower end of that battle is normal.
Yeah, it is, and yeah.
But you never.
That's not me making up stuff.
No. It's very hard when you write something like that. The perception that people take away from it.
Oh yeah.
You can't control it. So, how far from the time? So when the book first got published, what kind of tornado happened in the next 6 months where you're hearing reviews, you're hearing stuff from your agent, you're hearing
movie sale,
movie sales, and you're going, and I'm sure your wife was going, what? This is great.
Yeah, we got out to dinner a time or two.
Yeah. And then was there any part of you that was like, oh my God, now I got to follow it up?
Oh yes.
The pressure.
And Mysterious Ways was a real failure as a novel, and Liz has told Crutcher that she should have had a talk with me and told me to write another Vision Quest. Well, my total commitment was not to write another Vision Quest. It was try to write something that was more literary, And if Liz had just had a talk with me about it, Mysterious Ways would have been different. No, it was a complete failure as a novel.
And I think you wrote that in 79?
It was my second book.
Yeah.
And
Rock and Roll was 84.
Third, yeah.
So, how long? So, I'm trying to think. You sold the movie rights within 6 months of having the book published. And then, And then you're sitting down, probably immediately, working on your next book, thinking you need to follow up, right?
Yes.
And
And thinking every time I sat down that this needs to be different. This needs to be a serious novel because I don't think anybody ever took Vision Quest seriously. Even the people who wrote the good reviews, I don't think, well, they were talking about it as a young adult book, and it's never been that, ever.
yeah, and
It's just the main character happens to be a kid, that's all.
and so at that time, you're pushing 30 and you're thinking to yourself, I want to write a book that is true literature.
Yes.
You know,
And
a John Irving.
And that, to me, Brandon, at that point, serious meant pain. It meant, okay, these people have to suffer. If this is going to be serious literature, by God, there has to be some pain in it. And there was.
Yeah, horrible pain. And so that was 1980. What's going on in your personal life? Because your son's now 2.
Well, Monica and I divorced, and then I married a woman from the University of Iowa, Pascal's mother, and just a wonderful, wonderful woman. She lives in Paris now, and I've asked her if I could come over there and we could get back together. And she takes great care to tell me no, and she says, you should spend your time writing, not thinking about me. No, is that a good gal or what?
Yeah, but I mean, love is one of the few reasons why it's okay to be alive.
You bet it is.
So,
you bet it is.
You know, people say you should be doing this and doing that. You should be loving first, and then everything else second and third. But so yeah, it's hard. Thank you, but no. I prefer, if I have to have a choice, I know what I'd pick, right? So, so were you feeling pressure? Financially, you're in a pretty good spot because you've gotten the money for the movie rights, right? You got it pretty early, the movie rights, the $100K, and that's all you'll get. They say you don't get any points, you don't get any, and we're also going to have someone rewrite the screenplay for it. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Did that sting to you at all? Or did you go fine?
It hurt bad.
Did it?
Because I could have done it.
Did you ever tell them, why don't I write a treatment?
I never. Nobody at Warner Brothers ever talked to me.
So as far as you know, they talked to your agent. Your agent got you $100,000 check, and that was it.
That's it.
Up to the point where at some point you went on set, or they called you for a day, or I don't know, for a scene.
Yeah.
But you're thinking in your head almost immediately, all right, I've written one book. It's been received pretty good. It's a movie on my very first book. I'm talented. Let me take a stab at writing something that is.
You know, Brandon, this is the truth. I swear. I really don't believe I have talent. I believe that I learned some skills.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. I don't think that people at your level it's just, you are like the #1 wrestler. You're Ron Dixon as a writer. You've got something given to you. It's a gift that Ron Dixon was given to him as a gift that he did not earn.
Well, do you think in the case of a person in the arts, say, or in literature, do you think? Oh God, what am I? Oh, you don't think it's a gift.
No, I think it's.
You do think it's a gift,
Yeah.
and you don't think it's only skill.
No, not only skill. I think skill and hard work can amplify the gift. But I think the magic fairy dust from whatever you were made of.
You know, I have to admit that, and I know it's related to my bipolar disorder. I know it is, but I can. You know, I go through periods where I just come up with some magic shit. Mm-hmm. Just really good that I can be proud of.
They tried to sit down with
And that I think is a gift.
They sat down with Bob Dylan and interviewed him. Bill Bradley did from 60 Minutes, and it's been years ago. And he tried really, really to find out how he did what he did, how Bob Dylan wrote the lyrics he did, how. And Bob Dylan says, "I don't know. It just comes to me."
I've seen that interview.
When it comes to me.
It's on YouTube.
It's on, right. And that's the great artist, wherever that be, Jimi Hendrix or whoever, there's already an innate gift there.
Do you think there are parts about Eric Clapton's life as a guitar player that approach that level?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And he did his best to squander it, and he still come out with some magical stuff.
That squander it in relation to drugs?
Drugs and stuff like that. I mean,
and he lost his boy.
And there's just so many things that could have derailed him, but the one thing he could always go back to where he felt that he had some control over was his musical talent. And I mean, the stuff he did when he was Derek and the Dominoes when him and Dwayne Allman played together, it's hard to find anything more beautiful than Bell Bottom Blues with their Dwayne playing sliding guitar and Eric playing his solos together.
Dwayne Allman was a sad story.
Right, and that's another example of a gift. The world is filled. A gift does not guarantee you longevity. It does not guarantee you happiness.
Oh, and Dylan had that motorcycle accident.
Yeah. It doesn't guarantee you anything other than in that particular area, you are above the peers around you at that time in the universe. And it's obvious to people. When I read your book, it's obvious that you've got magic dust somewhere in your body. And it may be the manicness that is the gift. You don't know.
Well, it's funny. It could turn out that way.
Look at.
In some ways, it's got me into desperate trouble, but it's also given me some wonderful things.
Look at some of the greatest people in literature.
Abraham Lincoln.
Depressive beyond belief. Theodore Roosevelt was a depressive. He only got out of it by action. Whenever he lost his wife and daughter on the same day, on Valentine's Day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was not an attractive guy, and he chased after this most beautiful girl there in New York and wooed her over time. Married her. Was a virgin when he married her, so she was the end all be all for him, and she died giving childbirth. That's right. She tried giving childbirth to their daughter. Daughter lived. His mom died, though, the same day of Bright's disease in the same house.
God.
So he was at the state legislature.
I don't know what Bright's disease does.
You can't get it anymore now, but it shuts down your liver. Back then, they couldn't do anything about it. So he was at the state legislature in New York. Gets on a train. They said, "You need to come home." He gets home. His brother opens the door and says, "Death has visited our home. Your wife is gone, and mom's going to be following her shortly." And all he did, he kept a journal. And he wrote, in that journal, they've still got it. He wrote a giant X on that day. And it's Valentine's Day. And he said, "The light of my life has gone out forever." This is back whenever he was 28. And so to overcome that, he said, action. I will just keep going and not think about it. And he never talked to his daughter once about his mom or her mom.
My God.
Not one conversation. Because it was so painful for him to bring up.
What was his daughter's evolution?
Well, he remarried and had like 10 kids or whatever, but she was the daughter from the wife who passed, and her name was Alice, and she was a what do they call those kids? She was acting out quite a bit for dad, for lack of dad. She always felt like an outsider because her stepbrother and sisters were part of the new family that he had, and she was acting out most of her life.
Hmm.
You know?
Was she mentally ill?
Yeah, a little bit. Matter of fact, one time some people in the cabinet were complaining about things she was saying or doing, and he said her name was Alice, and he says I can be president or I can control Alice. I can't do both.
Wow. Wow.
So what do y'all want me to do? So anyway, let's get back to you. So we've got your movie. I don't know, when did they tell you they're going to start filming? Because I think it was
85 was
85 was the release, but I guess a year previous they started, so probably late 83, early 84.
I think so.
And how are you kept up to date on it? When you find out it's going to be filmed here and stuff?
They the guy who I took around town to show things, and he told me he was real standoffish with me, and it was clear that they didn't want anything to do with me. It just, the guy who writes the books is just a pain in the ass. That's their attitude.
So how did you even get on set?
Oh, I must have asked if I could come, or maybe they told me come on and watch.
Did you have a contact that you kept with?
No, I
movie?
didn't. I didn't. I don't think I did. But there must have been somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they put you in the final scene.
Yeah, with Tanner and
next to Harold Sylvester. And did you talk to any of the actors at all there other than Harold sitting next to him or anybody else?
Just a bit.
Someone say this is the guy who wrote the book, and then you shake your hand, and
yeah.
Is that how you met Matthew Modine?
Yes.
Just say, hey, here's the writer. Had he read the book? Did anybody say they had read the book?
I think he's read it since, and people do ask him a lot about the story.
Yeah. What's kind of funny about him is he's done some really dramatic work.
Oh yes.
In big movies,
yes.
Kubrick and all that, and now he's doing Broadway.
Yeah.
For
One Flew. Oh no! Gosh darn it! It's
Kill a Mockingbird.
Kill a Mockingbird. Yes.
My wife and I just saw that in Dallas a couple of days ago, but it was Richard Thomas who did it, and I was hoping it was Modine. But,
oh yeah.
It was the guy from John Boy. It was him. He was real good pick. But when you heard who the people were who played Loudon and stuff like that,
I didn't know him.
You didn't know. No one did, right?
No, I don't think so.
So the first time you saw him was on set, probably?
Yes.
And in your brain watching him, was you thinking...
He was not who I envisioned.
Okay. If there was an actor at the time, who did you think would be a good Loudon at the time?
Gosh, I don't know.
Would it be shorter like a Tom Cruise? Would it be...
No, I think Loudon... Well, and Tim talks about he talks about wanting to be taller, and some light cursing of the fact that he got the male side of his family's lack of height.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I was curious who you thought might want to. When you saw Linda Fiorentino, did you think she looked like a Carla in your brain?
No.
So all these people that you envision in your head, you're seeing different.
Yeah, radically different.
Radically different, yeah. And how did you just compartmentalize this in your head like, well, they paid me, so that's just the way it's going to be?
Yeah.
And then you had already published, by that point, Mysterious Ways. So let's back up to that. In 1980, you published Mysterious Ways. And did anybody give you any indication that it wasn't what they wanted? from you.
No, nobody did. And it was years later that Liz told Crutch that she should have had a talk with me. Been years later.
Well, that doesn't help anybody now, but then what did you think? Did you think you had written something that would stand the test of time and was?
Well, I thought parts of it were good.
Mm-hmm.
I believed in parts of it. And I was proud of myself for having written parts of it.
You've discussed in the past before that you wish you could rewrite it. What would you do different?
My attitude about rewriting is to try to make it more credible and to try to, I put myself in there, Terry Davis, as and I make the journal found. I make Carl's journal found. And so I talk about, they say there are no coincidences, but by God, I'm here to tell you, this book is here to tell you there are coincidences. He and I are from the same town. I bought his motorcycle when it was left. I went to Eastern also. I was in the fraternity, and I work with that because I wanna convince people that it's absolutely true, but I don't want it to be as ugly as it is sometimes.
Why? What part of you won't let that 1980 book live as it is and say, I'm just going to go and do Son of Swain and some book number 5, number 6, right? Because one of the things that I think more people that I talk to about you is they wish you were more prolific.
Oh, yes.
Even if it didn't live up to your standards, many people still find. I thought your chapters I read on your bipolar guy, I was eating it up. I was just enjoying it so much reading about that.
What book was that in?
Well, you had started writing a book about a character.
Oh, yes.
And he had bipolar.
Yeah.
And they had this great chapter on them working out together and what it took to work out. And, they met the girls on the track and you were meeting the people and stuff like that.
I like that character. I
did too.
Like
and I was like, man, this is going to be really good because mental health is starting to be something that's talked about more openly. But you don't see a lot of characters who approach it. And Terry's got firsthand knowledge of what it feels like, and he's able to convey words that have the right touch. And I was like, this is gonna be a fantastic book. And you didn't follow up on it. You stopped somewhere along the way. You said you're not going to do it anymore. Part of it was you had some health. Your health stuff really tanked around that time, and that's understandable. You trying to survive. You're not trying to write a book, but that was one of the ones. We definitely wanted to wish you'd been more prolific. Some people, they said the same thing about Harper Lee. Oh. You can write thousands of books.
Now, have you read the new one?
Yeah.
I've heard that.
I wish I hadn't.
It seems as though Atticus was a racist. Is that a correct reading of it?
No, not. It's simple. That's too simple.
Oh.
He became more accepting that things weren't going to change, and as he got older, he started to feel like, okay, well maybe races need to be.
Well, I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna, by God, read that.
It's sad because.
Oh, Brandon, could you come to a store with me and get a bottle of Bailey's? I'd like to have some Bailey's tonight. And if Connie checks my credit card, so if she sees Bailey's on my credit card, it's.
Are you not supposed to be drinking? Bad boy.
Oh, that's right.
Well,
That's right.
I won't tell if you won't tell.
I won't.
Let me have your little thing up top.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, we can get any format that'll play it.
Okay.
I mean, I can load it on a private YouTube channel, private.
Really?
Yeah, and then you can share it with whoever you want to share it with. That way.
How could we get it to some wrestlers?
By me sharing it.
Oh.
And saying this is the link and the password to the link, and it's very